Hello, and welcome to today's chat. So, first of all, I hope everybody's having a phenomenal day. But let's jump in. We're going to talk about some really basic accounting stuff, specifically on the computer, right? So, let me share the screen here. So we're going to be looking at Excel. We're going to be looking at sheets, and we're also going to be looking at numbers, right? So we'll approach them in that order, and I'll kind of just show you a few tips and kind of how to get started on them, right? So Excel, obviously, you can use that on your Android smartphone if you have one. If you have a PC, right, it comes with Windows on it. You've got the native version of Excel automatically, basically, with that. What most people don't realize, though, is that you can actually access and use Excel through the web. And so obviously, if you're doing that, it doesn't matter if you're on a Mac or a PC. So let me hop over there and I'll show you. So if you come to your Outlook account, if you have an Outlook account, I should specify. But if you have any kind of Microsoft or Outlook account, for example, Skype is an Outlook account, you can log in and you can just find it here on the corner, right? Or obviously you've got the little app launcher that will show up. So I'll just hit the X, right? Open Excel. Bam. Easy as that. Obviously, take note that you've got Microsoft Word. You've also got PowerPoint there. So that could be a handy thing to remember, right? If you've got to do some work from home. They can be expensive programs to buy outright on your computer. And why bother? They've got the full thing right here, ready to go. So let's just open a new workbook here. My internet has seen better days. All right, let's try that again. All right, perfect. So we're back over here. I'll open up Excel. Right, so if we open up Excel, we got this right here. Perfect. It's worthwhile checking out some of the templates. They can be pretty handy. Not all of them are going to be useful, but if you're looking at doing like a budget or something, odds are there's already a pre-made one in there, and then you just retitle things what you need to. All right, here we are. We're in Excel. Awesome. So this probably looks familiar to most people. Right, we just got the huge grid. So, few notes. Obviously, we got the alphabet soup up the top here, right? We got A, B, C, the whole alphabet. It's telling you what your columns are. And then you got your number soup going on the left-hand side here, and these tell you what your rows are. One other thing that I like to point out before we go any further, at the very bottom here, see where we've got sheet 1, that you can add multiple sheets, multiple pages essentially. So why does this matter? Let's say that you want to have a monthly budget for the whole year. You could have 12 sheets instead of having 12 completely different documents. So on one hand, that can help just keep things more manageable. You're only looking in one spot. But why it's really important is that if it's in the same document, you can get them to affect each other. So if you have a balance carrying over from January to February, you can get it to automatically do that if it's in the same document. If they're different documents, you have to go and put everything in manually. It will still work, but why not have it all in one place, right? If it's the same amount of work, why not why not just, make life easier for yourself? So, hop here on the first sheet. So for the assignment, right, we're looking at cataloging, keeping track of expenses for your classes, essentially, right? Essentially tracking material costs. That's going to be hugely important when you're trying to figure out how to price your artwork down the road. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's just focus on how to keep track of that right now. So I will throw in, let's say we're looking at class 1, class 2, let's pretend we're just looking at 3 classes. Class 3. So I am a fan of working in columns, right? Vertically, straight up and down, like you can see here. Instead of horizontally through rows. Either will work. It's just how I learned. I find it's easier to manage. So I always take an approach where I'll have one column where I can make notes, and then I'll have the column beside it where I can keep track of the actual expenses. Because this is a number, right? It is a numbers program, but you could still write in it very, very straightforward. So I like to always give it a bit of a different shade so that I know when I'm looking at it quickly from a glance where to put my notes, where to put the money. Now remember, just change that back there. Remember that when you're doing things, especially on Excel, control is going to be your best friend, like the actual button control. So, if you hold it down, it will let you select multiple things. So, if I want to do this for all of the tabs, all the columns to color them, I could go and one at a time highlight them and fill them with shade, right? Or I can just hold down Control, and I'll go in at once, and then just click the button once. So that's a really simple example. I'm not saving much time, but, right, the more large your project gets, the more you want to apply the same thing, the more time you're going to save. So, let's say, looking at 5 purchases, right? Let's just say that, whatever. We'll throw a little total down here. And then in this column here, this is where we're going to be putting the money. So let's just throw some crazy numbers out there. Why not? $9.09, and oh my goodness, you spent $356 on pencils. Oh my goodness, why are you spending so much money on pencils? Calm down. So obviously, you could get out your calculator, you could get out your smartphone, and put this in all in manually. But there's 2 things we need to remember. The first one is time management, right? If you do this all manually every time, this is super easy. There's only 5 purchases. When you get to trying to keep track of your expenses as an artist, right, you might be looking at a year-long thing. Like, oh my goodness, you're going to be at your calculator forever. That's going to take so much time. And more importantly, human error, right? I don't know about you. I can't send anybody a text message without going back and fixing my typos, right? So we're still going to have those typos, whether we realize it or not, when we're dealing with our numbers. And that can be quite a problem when you're looking at making decisions based on your finances, right? Especially as an artist, right? It could even come down to, this is how you're figuring out what to charge people for your art, and you get that number off by 1 decimal point, and you just undercut yourself by goodness knows how many hours of work, right? You're just giving your time away for free. So if we use something like Excel, both those problems can be taken care of for us, right? Work smarter, not harder. So instead of getting out a calculator and putting all these things in, we can use a formula to make our lives easy for us. So there's a few ways you can do this. While you're getting new to Excel and just getting used to it, the easiest option is you come up to the ribbon up here, right? You can see it's got formulas right there. Just bam, just click on formula. And you'll have a few things that are showing up here. It'll look a little differently if you're using the Excel that comes on your computer instead of the web, but all the buttons are still there. So for our purposes, I know that we want to look for this first one here where it says auto sum. The most common math formulas essentially that you're going to use are going to be right down here, right? You can look at the sum, you can take the average of numbers, that kind of thing. And of course, you can also look just at more if it's not there. So if we want to have everything added up here, we're looking for the sum, right? So make sure you highlight where you want the answer to your formula to be, right? So I want that to show next to total. So I'll make sure I'm clicked there, and then I'll click sum. Now, because it's a smart program, it's kind of figured out, like, all right, this is probably what I want to do. So if that looks good to you, right, because it will show you in this moving little colored table what it's doing, right, what's going to be included. If that looks good to you, hit enter. Bam. All right, so we spent $414.04 in that class. Let's explore a different way of doing that in the second class. Let's throw in some numbers here. Oh man, you're just spending tons of money in this class. 9,000. Nope, it needs to be over 9,000. It needs to be 9,001. Just jokes. So, and you are just loaded. You're buying so many pencils. Don't know what's going on. You're just giving pencils away. Whatever floats your boat, I guess. So before, we highlight this and we would come up and click it. And it would give us this little highlighted area. I'm like, yep, that looks right. So let's say this time, like, the formula they gave us, like, it highlighted all the way out to here. Let's just pretend like it's including all kinds of things you don't want it to. And you can always see down here, right? Remember I was talking about the columns with the letters and the rows with the numbers? That, it kind of shows you down in here as well. So easiest thing you can do, whatever it's showing you, if it's, you can just drag it back in place. You can adjust it if you need to. It's perfectly fine. Once you're happy with it, you hit enter. Oh my goodness. Spent over $9,000 on pencils. A lot of trees. A lot of trees. It's poor trees. All right. So we hop over to the third class. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, you come on up, and no matter how, like, you hit sum, but it's just not doing anything, right? It's not working. The button isn't helping you out. That is so unfortunate. It's trashy. what are you going to do, right? The button won't work. How do you do it yourself? So if we remember when we were doing the sums here, so like if we click where that formula is, right, over here where that total is, that's where we had the formula in the first place. So if we just double click on that, we can kind of see what's happening, right? So you see equal sum, and then it's got the range here in brackets. So the same thing over here, right? Equal sum, and then C4 through C12. So all of the formulas in Excel, they kind of work in the same way. You're going to have an equal sign is always going to be the first thing, right? And that equal sign is telling Excel, okay, it's going to be a formula, right? You want Excel to do the math for you. After the equal sign, you are going to have a word that is going to tell Excel what to do. So you can see, right? Like I know I'm looking for sum. I can just start to type sum, and it will automatically give me a whole bunch of different suggestions. And there's a lot of formulas, right? So most of these you're not gonna use unless you go like, you get an admin job and you are loving Excel, you are rocking Excel. I can just search for sum. You can see it starting to pop up there, right? So once I find what I want, right, I'm looking for sum, I just double click it, and you can see it automatically added a parentheses after it. Because if we look over here, remember that, apologies. If we open this, right, equal, it's going to be a formula. Sum, we want the formula to take the sum, and then you need to tell it of what, right? And so that's where you're going to have those cells, F3 through F12, are going to be in parentheses. So, all right, let's get that out of the way. Right, so if we come over to our formula here, we've got equal sum. And once again, I click it, it'll add that parentheses. And it will give me a little drop down right underneath it. It's kind of just reminding me like what goes there, right? Number 1, number 2. So what do I do here, right? If I want to take this, do I have to do, I4, I5, I6, I7, I8. That's one option. You can see that they, it starts actually highlighting them as you go, so you can make sure that you're not getting the wrong one. So that's one option, right? Put the little parentheses, and I hit enter. And I know that's going to be 55. So that's the longest way to do it. So let's do that a little bit of a quicker way, right? So equal, double click sum. All right. So instead of typing them all out one by one, I could do I4. And if I hit colon, right, the 2 dots, I can just do I7. Wrong. Bad of me. I8. Right? And you can see that tells it to just choose everything in between those. That'll give me 55. There's an even easier way to do it. Equal sum. All right, check this out. You just drag it. That's it. So let's put this one in manually, right? So we have a whole bunch of different ways we can do it. But once again, let's pretend the button up here, the auto button, it's broken. Okay, so we can come to sum, just double click it, and then you can just highlight what you want it to sum for you. When you're happy with it, you just hit enter. So why formulas are actually pretty handy. This is pretty simple, right? It's pretty easy. But obviously, the larger it gets, the more time it's going to save you. But you can just set the formula up. Like this whole column here, the formula is set up. So now I can just put in new expenses, right? Spent $34 here, $54, $1, right? And it's going to keep automatically updating as I go, right? So it can be pretty handy that you can just set everything up to begin with. And then as you put things in, it will automatically update. You don't need to get the calculator out every time, and you don't need to redo the formula every time either, right? It's just there. Awesome, possum, awesome. So, one of my favorite things about formulas is that you can have a formula that is done with other formulas. So I can use a formula instead of just what's my total for class 1, and then separately for class 2, and then separately for class 3. I can use a formula to give me what's the total for all of these 3 classes, right? And that is so handy. Remember, we can hit sum, and we can click. You notice like it's only giving me 1. Right? Even if I click over here, it just jumps. So remember what I was saying earlier. If you hold down Control, it'll let you choose multiple things. So I'm just telling it that I want the sum of specifically what is in these 3 spots. So if I hit enter, right? Bam, $9,904 on pencils. Wow, John Wick would be one happy guy. So why I love this so much is that I don't need to take care of updating this anymore, right? If I just start buying things or putting new info in, you'll notice that not only does the total down here change, this causes the overall total to also update as I go. So that can be so incredibly wonderfully helpful. Another thing that I'll just kind of throw in here, you don't need to do it. I find it helpful for myself. If you come up to insert, you can put a chart in, right? And so that can be a helpful way to show you, instead of just, spent $400, spent $9,000, it can break down what percent did you spend in what class, right? And I find that pretty helpful, personally. I like to know that. So, easiest way to do it. So what did I do just there, right? If I just go to insert a chart, it just gives me a blank square, right? That's not super helpful. It's just a blank square. Great. I can tell the chart what to make the chart from. After I do this, right? I can get it to do that, but it's going to be a lot more work. The easiest way to do it is if I highlight what I want the chart to show me, right? So I want the chart to break down these 3 totals. if I just highlight these first, right? Click it, hold down Control, so you can highlight all 3 of them at once. And then I go to add a chart. It already is making a chart off of these 3 numbers for me. So as I put more stuff in, it will also automatically change the chart for me too, right? So you're probably thinking like, okay, that's cool, Tim. What's the big deal? This is a lot of time to set up these formulas and get the chart going. I don't want to do this every time. What is so great about this is that, let me just get some stuff off the screen here. We'll just, we'll delete all this stuff here. So you can set up, like let's say that this is a format you're going to use, like monthly as an artist, right? You're gonna have like 3 columns, whatever. And you want a chart. You can see I have the formula set up without having anything in there. So even though it's telling me 0, obviously, as soon as I start to put things in, it's going to update. So I can still set the chart up right now with nothing in it yet. Right? Okay, it looks blank. That's because there's nothing putting in. Once I start to put things in, it will update. Okay, so now that I have this all set up for myself, but I haven't filled it out, I can actually save this as a template. So every time that I want to do like a month, let's say I have to do this monthly, if I save this as a template, when I come to doing a new one, it'll be in here, kind of like the default, if you want to write a resume thing. I can actually just have it saved here. So that way when I open it, I'll get this, and all the formulas are already done. There's no more work for me. I just put the numbers in, and I can print it. It's good. So that is why I really love using Excel. I hope that wasn't too much of a mouthful. I hope that made some sense. So let's jump into the other 2 programs. It's going to be much quicker, don't worry, because they all work pretty much the same, which, that's pretty handy for us. So if we remember the second of the 3, we're looking at Sheets. And Sheets is, let me up over here, I'll share it. So Sheets is Google Sheets. This is what is used by Google. So if you have a Gmail, if you have a Google account, you have access to Sheets for free, regardless. And it's web-based, so it doesn't matter whether you're using a PC or a Mac, right? I'm personally speaking, I'm not as big a fan of it, just because I don't like to leave copies of things only in the cloud or on Google Drive. I prefer to just keep hard copies on my computer as well. Just personal reasons. I've lost some stuff in the past, and call me paranoid. But so if you're if you're signed into your Google account, as you can see I am here, you'll always have the 9 dots up here, right? You'll have the app launcher, and obviously you'll have your Gmail, you'll have your Google Drive, you'll have Google Docs, which is essentially just Word, Google Sheets, which is Excel, and Google Slides, which is PowerPoint. And you'll have some other great stuff as well, right? So if you have a YouTube account, odds are your YouTube account is actually a Google account. So you've got access to Google Sheets right there, already set to go. So you can just click on this, bam, hit on Sheets, and this is what it'll give you. Notice it's kind of starting to look like Excel, right? So, good news. It is pretty much identical to Excel. So I'll do a super quick example, not as in-depth as the last one, but you can kind of see, right? So let's say we've got the two classes, right? We will, so, we'll use this column, we're taking notes. This column, we're doing money. So let's say, we got our 4 purchases again, and we got some numbers. You tone down your pencil buying. It's not going to be in the thousands this time. Oh well. Well, we'll work with what we can, right? So I'll just get rid of that so it's not as distracting. So once again, we want to highlight where the formula is going. Same as Excel. You'll notice, though, it doesn't say formulas up here. Instead, you're going to look for data. Oh my goodness. Am I losing my mind? All right, perfect. Sorry. You're not looking for data. You are looking for insert. So instead of formulas, it's called functions, but I don't know why. They're literally the exact same thing. And you can even see that it's auto-suggesting the exact same things from Excel and the exact same words. Sum, average, count, max, min. It's all the same. What I do appreciate is the categorize. So you can look under like financial, and you can just take a scroll, just take a look at some of the stuff there. Or maybe you just want to look under math, right? There's a lot in here. So don't worry about learning all of these formulas or functions, unless you're, pursuing a very seriously intense, perhaps like an admin or accounting position. But it's there if you really need to look and find something. So, you can just up here, we're looking for sum. Just hit sum. And look, it's the same setup as Excel, right? Equal tells it that we're using a formula. Sum tells it what formula. And now it just needs to know of what cells, right? What parts of the table or the spreadsheet do we want it to sum? So just highlight it. Remember, one of the options with Excel, we like what it's showing. We know that's what we want. Hit enter. You spent $911 on pencils. Man, that school store is going to have to restock pretty soon. I hope you get a discount. So, right where we want it to go, insert. Oh, get out of here. Get out of here. There we go. Insert. Function. And then you can find it. It'll probably be right up here at the top. It's a pretty common one. Right? So we can drag and drop like with Excel. We can hold down Control and click them all. You're probably wondering, why on earth would you ever do that instead of just dragging and dropping? Well, it can be handy. Let's say we've got, a few numbers over here, but we don't want to get the stuff in the middle, right? You can't really do that as easily just dragging over like that. So if you hold down Control, you can just select them all one at a time if you want. And it looks the same as Excel. So if we're going to type it out, equal, it's going to be a formula. And see, it's kind of, it's guessing what you want. But we don't want to go with that. The reason why, you can click it, and it's suggesting that. If we like that, we can click it. But that only gets what's there. We want it to include the blank sections that lead up to it, so we can still work on it. We can still add things as we go. Right? If we don't include these, anything we put in there isn't gonna affect this number. And same as before, if we really want to have like a grand total, let's say, remember, hold down Control, select what you want, and it'll tell you. So you can see it's, apart from it being called functions instead of formulas, Google Sheets is like pretty much identical to Excel, at least to the extent that we're using it, on a more amateur level. I am sure there are quite a few differences once you get into it is your job to do Excel for people. I'm assuming that's not the direction anybody's going in by default of the program. So that's great and fun. We still have a third one to look at, right? So we are going to be looking at numbers is the third program. So numbers it's basically the Mac or the Apple version of Excel. So just like with Google Sheets and everything, there's an app for it you can use on your, if you have an Apple phone, something that's running iOS operating system. You can, if you have a Mac computer of any sort, you have numbers for free, and you can download it. Just search for it on the App Store. You can download it for free. And same with Excel. I don't think many people are really aware that you can actually use it through the web. So if you sign into your iCloud account, you can open, create, and alter spreadsheets through it. So like right now, for example, I'm on a Dell PC, but I'm able to use numbers because I'm signed into my iCloud account. So it's pretty handy. It's not as similar to Excel as the last thing we looked at, though. But I'll kind of show you how that works. It's pretty similar. So we'll open a new spreadsheet. One nice thing about numbers, right, the Apple option, is that they've got some pretty good templates already done. So, if you have, for example, for personal budgets, stuff like that, what's there is pretty solid if you're not looking to create something completely from scratch. I won't lie, I'm personally a fan of their chart and graph system, just because you can really customize it. I'm a fan of, it's probably a little obsessive, but I color code my things. So if you see with some of these, like the little donut graph here, there's all kinds of colors. I will actually color coordinate, like in a budget. If I have like monthly bills, I'll have that all one color. And then all of the, like true expenses, kind of, something like groceries, things that aren't going to be set in stone so much, I'll have that as a different color. Just so I can keep track of things on a month-to-month basis. So because of that, it's my personal preference. But you can do the same thing with all the programs. None of them are inherently better. So we'll let this open up. Thank you for your patience. My Wi-Fi has seen better days, I'm afraid. So, it's looking similar, right? We still have the graph, we still have the table, but we're not seeing as many options as we're used to. And a lot of that is you're going to notice, like, if I click somewhere, then options become available, right? So just bear that in mind, that if you can't find what you're looking for, make sure you have the right area highlighted that you want to affect. So this is a huge table. I don't need a table this big. All right, just come up here. You see these dots at the corner? If you just click and drag it over, you can just kind of make your table a little smaller to start with, which is pretty handy. There, something a lot more manageable. All right, so let's throw in here notes. Got monies. And we'll throw total. Oh, we don't need that one either. So I'm gonna do this up kind of similar to the other ones, right? We got five things we're gonna buy. Spending all kinds of money, branched out from your normal pencil hoarding, and now you're dropping tons of money on pens, right? Gotta mix it up. So I filled this out with numbers already, and I'm going to show you a better way to do it after this. So same with the other programs, I want to highlight the cell that the formula is going to display in, where that total is going to be. And same with all the other ones. Equals will tell it that I want a formula or a function or goodness, whatever they want to call it. It's the same thing. Click right there. And let's see. My goodness, I've been hopping around too many different programs here. Got to get my head back on. Right. So we highlight the right cell. We hit equals to let it know that we want a formula. Now, in the other programs, there were buttons that we could just go to that would say function or formula that we could click. If you notice, like when I'm in here, it isn't there, right? Even if I highlight this, like I've got tables, I've got charts, I've got all kinds of options, but I'm not going to find formulas in here, right? It's just going to be changing font and colors, that kind of thing. So you actually have to start with hitting equals. You'll see on the right hand side, it automatically brings up the functions thing. Right, so we can look under category again if we want to. Let's click financial. Right, that sounds all right. We're probably looking to look financial, maybe, or maybe we're looking under numeric, right? I think we're looking under numeric. There we go. We got sum right there. So, we can hit insert function, or we can double click it. And would you look at that? It's the same formula as all the other programs. Equals, sum, and then the cells are going to be in brackets. So, just like the other ones, I can just drag it, and you'll see that it's updating there, B2 through B7. I'm happy with it. I can hit enter. And after a second, it'll update for me. So, you'll notice the formulas are all pretty much the same, right? The sum formula is the same across Excel, across Google Sheets, across Apple. So after doing it a few times, you'll notice you don't need to go looking for where formula is, the functions button, all this stuff, and find sum to double click it. I can just hit equal, sum. And then you can just do the drag and drop, right? So let me exit that. I know I want it to be sum. Equal means it's going to be a formula. Just type in sum. It doesn't need to be all caps either. It can be lower caps, right? You'll see when I just go to drag it, it doesn't work. It's because when I open it up, you'll see it threw a plus sign in there. Right? And that's because I forgot part of every formula, right? Equal sum, it needs to be inside brackets. So as long as you put that first bracket in there, there, you see, right? It's going to be in brackets. Now when I do it, it updates. So if I jump back a little bit, okay, that's great. I've got my first table, but I didn't do my other tables yet. So I still have 2 more classes to go. So I could do this step over and over again. Or you know, kind of like with making a template, we can use that approach in here, in the same document. If I know I'm going to need 3, 4, 27 of the same kind of table, right? Get the table ready. Don't put in the data yet. You can still do the formula with nothing in there. So, I mean, it's going to sit at 0, but as soon as I add something, it's going to update. Very slowly, apparently. But it's going to update. So, the reason why I mention that is, now that I've got that, I can just, you know, I can Control C, or you know, I can copy it. If I paste it, this second table doesn't only look the same, the formula is copied over as well. You know, and I can just do that as many times as I want, right? I can have, you know, say I got 4 classes. It was easy as that. I just made one, and I could just copy and paste. And now I've got 4, and they all have the same formula now, right? So, you know, spending a bunch of money over here, awesome. Money over here, great. Formulas are all there, and it's all going to update with a few seconds lag, I suppose. So, for anybody who's interested, up here is where you can add a chart. Got the little graph button there. It's grayed out until you select something. So, you know, we'll select that total, hold Control. Oh, goodness, what do I do? Yeah, let's just, you know, we'll highlight. Oh my goodness. Apologies. Let's just, for demonstration, let's just show them just the one. You know, like we'll highlight that, and you'll see like that's no longer grayed out. It's green. And you could choose whatever kind of fancy chart you want. There's interactive charts, which is pretty fun. Always a fan of the donut chart, personally. You know, it's like the pie chart, but you're not going to kill your printer if you have to print something. It's always nice. And you can update this thing to the moon and back on numbers, right? So a lot of it's really already set up very nicely. You know, you can change the colors, the size. You can give it different titles. You know, you name it. It's great. But I really do like how much you can customize it, because you can actually, you can change things from showing like percentage, which is handy. You can get it to actually show you the total amounts, fractions, everything like that. And you can even get it down to, what currency type you want to display it as, which is pretty handy, I won't lie. And you can also click on the names, right? So at least how I have it selected right now, it's the total for monies category with how I have just that one, so it's showing that. And goodness knows, we could go through a whole TED Talk, masterclass, whatever, on setting up really intricate charts and tables. I'll let you explore that on your own time. We can go more in depth with that if you want. But realistically, that's everything you need to know for how to use it effectively, I suppose, at the level that we are for now. And hopefully it's enough to get you going off the ground. Obviously, I'm more than happy to help if anybody needs a hand. But don't forget, these are also pretty common programs that are being used. Hit up Google, hit up YouTube, and see what cool tips and tricks are out there for you. So, thanks for listening to my TED Talk, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.